Ibrahim alayhi salam, from a young age, he was made to search for the truth. So, as a teenager, Allah tells us in the Quran how Ibrahim alayhi salam questioned the fact that his people were worshipping idols. And that shows that Ibrahim alayhi salam had his fitrah. It was in good shape. And one of the aspects of fitrah is that it asks questions. It asks questions. It wants to know. There's a thirst for knowledge. There's a quest for answers. That's the fitrah. It wants to know. It searches for the truth. It recognizes that what it has is not enough and it wants more. It wants more. So at a young age, he was questioning, why do my people do this? What is the point worshipping statues made of stones? What's the point? How does this help us? Why do we give our devotion, our love, our fear to these idols? Yes, everyone does it. But I'm not going to accept that as a fact and live with it. There is something inside me that tells me there is more to this. So that's a good sign. If a person is asking questions, that's a good sign. Now, I will be going with you to the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, but we will be frequently coming back to our time. Because by the way, stories in the Quran, stories from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're not for entertainment. It's not like we hold the Mus'haf in our hands, we read, and we look at the story, we understand how the story goes, end of story. That's not the point. Because life is the same. Life is the same. Human experience at any time in history, in any place, there's a lot of similarities. If you strip it down to its inner experience, it's the same. Maybe the clothes differ. Maybe skin color differs. Maybe the race differs. The language differs. Lifestyle differs. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to the same thing. We all have the same experience. Even regardless of the technological level, human experience will end up being the same. So it's essentially, if you take it down, strip it down to its essence, the human experience will always be the same. The same emotions, the same feelings, the same thoughts, the same experiences, the same challenges, the same inner conflict, the same thing. So we will be traveling to the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam and then coming back to our time and see what is Allah telling us when He narrates the story to us. What is the point? Because that's what we call in Arabic tadabbur. Tadabbur, which is also similar to tafakkur. Allah actually says in the Quran that He sent down the Quran for the purpose, Jazakallah khairan, He sent the Quran down for tadabbur. The reason Allah sent down the Quran, the main reason, for tadabbur. So we do tadabbur, we engage in tadabbur. Allah says in Surah Sad, كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب. A blessed book that we send down unto you, O Muhammad, so that they, who are they? Everyone, humans. يَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. So they make tadabbur over the Quran, pondering, reflection, deep thinking. And one of the meanings of tadabbur is you study something, you understand it, then you take the lessons into your life and you see how they apply. That's part of tadabbur. It's called in Arabic, Ibra. Allah says, for example, in Surah Yusuf, after He mentions the whole story of Yusuf in this surah, Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ. Who can complete? لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. In their stories, there is ibrah. There is ibrah for people of understanding. What does ibrah mean? Ibrah, who speaks Arabic or knows Arabic here? Okay, so ibrah in the Arabic language comes from ubur. Ubur means to cross a bridge. Cross a bridge. So for the stories that Allah mentions in the Quran are for us to understand them, dissect them, learn the lessons, then cross over to our life and see how this applies. What does it teach us? How does it enlighten us? And how does it change our life? And then act upon this. That's how we do tadabbur. So we'll try to do this. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, as a young boy, as a young man, he was reflecting on his state. He did not take the practice of his people, unanimous. All his people, all of them were doing it. And you know, as human beings, when you grow up in a society and you grow up into something, you see everyone's doing it, for you it becomes true and good automatically. So that shows Ibrahim alayhi salam, his very human nature, which is fitrah, was actually not accepting this. It was pushing against this. It was pushing against this. Because we humans, by the way, we don't just learn from society. We have another source of learning. We have another source of learning. And we are born with it. When you are born as a child, it's inside of you. It's inside of you. Even if you grow up in a society that oppresses the weak and everyone is doing it, there is a voice inside you that says, no. Where does this come from? Allah put it inside you. That's your fitrah. That's your fitrah. We call it conscience, right? We call it conscience. I don't know what's the word in your local language. In Arabic, it's dhamir. It's this intuitive feeling that takes you towards what's good, guides you towards what's good, right? So Ibrahim alayhi salam had this inside of him, and he said, that's not true. These are just stones. Why do we worship them? What's the point? Even if you say, oh, they're just stones, but they connect us to the creator of the heavens and the earth, why go through them, right? Because people of Quraysh, they were not stupid, by the way. You think they were just thinking these idols are real gods by themselves? No. They said, these are symbols of righteous people of the past that were connected to Allah, so we are good to them, and because we're good to them, Allah will be good to us. Or they will intermediate between us and Allah. They will help us with Allah. That was the problem of Quraysh. They were not stupid people worshipping a table. No, they were not stupid, by the way. They understood that. And the same applies to the people of Ibrahim. So the people of Ibrahim did not accept that. And he started searching. His fitrah was searching. This world, there must be an originator, a creator for it. Who is this God? Who is He? Where is He? He must make Himself known. Where is He? So he started looking around. Ultimately, Ibrahim alayhi salam was given the guidance by Allah, and he tried to communicate this with his people. But obviously, like everyone else, you know, you want to start a new project, you want to do something different, everyone will say, no, you know, no one is going to accept that. No one does things this way. You just follow everyone else. You know what the problem, what's the problem with following everyone else? Is you will end up being like everyone else. And doesn't mean you just choose to be different for the sake of being different. That's another problem. Being different is not a goal. Is not a goal. But if you are following your fitrah, you're searching for the truth, and that makes you different, then good, be it. That's the kind of being different that we want. Okay, So Ibrahim alayhi salam, we know the story that since he communicates with his people, they don't get it, they don't understand it. They said, enough with it. We don't want to listen to you. Stop bothering us. Stop talking to us about another God and about how our way of life is no good. And that tells you something about humans, by the way. That tells you something about humans. When humans develop a lifestyle and habits, they don't like you to challenge it. So you are a young man or a young woman, you start practicing, you start learning a little bit about Islam, then you look at your parents, they're doing something wrong, right? It's traditional. They learned that from their parents, from the culture. So you think, I care about my parents, so I'm going to fix them. I know. So you go and speak to your parents and you get put down, right? What do you know? How old are you? Listen to your elders, right? Well, that's the nature of human beings. It's the nature of human beings. That when we live with something, we get used to it, it becomes the truth. And when someone comes and questions that, we're not going to accept it. We won't accept it. You actually become the snitch in the house. You know what the snitch is? Snitch? Okay, so snitch is a person, when young brothers, when you are maybe 14, 15, 16, you get together, 5, 6 brothers together, you say, we wonder how smoking feels. Let's go and get some cigarettes and try to smoke and don't tell no one, right? You go and hide somewhere and you start lighting cigarettes and you smoke and you start coughing, right? And you say, hey, this is our secret, don't tell no one. Then the following day, you find the school teacher, he says, Muhammad, Khalid, so-and-so, come here. How does the cigarette taste? How did he know? One of you told on you. One of the guys went to the teacher, or maybe went to your father, worse, or your mother, and told them about you smoking, trying the cigarettes. That's the snitch. So when you tell people you're wrong, that's not the way you pray, okay? Oh, you should pray like this. You don't say this like that. You say it this way. For them, you become this snitch. They don't want to listen to you. They want to prove you wrong now. And this is why it's human nature. So don't think that if you try to teach some people, and sometimes it happens with parents, like sometimes a parent, they did not grow very religious, but later on in their life they start practicing. But their kids are not practicing because they did not educate them. They did not teach them to be practicing. So now the parent wants their kid to start practicing. So they start telling their child, oh, did you pray Isha? Did you pray Fajr? Did you make wudu? Why don't you put on your hijab? Why don't you go to the masjid? Why don't you join the congregational prayer, right? And the kid says, leave me alone. Don't waste my time. Don't bother me. Now, the father or the mother becomes the snitch here. So this is human nature. It doesn't mean you're wrong, but it means it's human nature to push back against what they are used to. So as a person who's trying to be a good Muslim, you should appreciate this in people. Expect it. Expect it. As a young man or a young woman, you learn something new, you go advise your parent, and they say, no, what do you know? That's wrong. That doesn't mean your parent is bad. It doesn't mean they don't want the truth. I get a lot of the youth, they say, my dad, he doesn't love the truth. He rejects the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, or he rejects the Quran. Why? I told him, when you pray, you don't put your hands down there, you put them here. And the Prophet ﷺ, I quoted the hadith for him. The Prophet ﷺ used to put his hands on his chest, right? So my dad refuses the hadith. I say, brother, take it easy. Take it easy. His whole life he's been praying like this. Now all of a sudden, you make his whole religion collapse. How is that going to feel? He's a human being. So be patient. Be patient. The Prophet ﷺ was with his people for such a long time. And they harmed him and they put him through so many trials. Then at the end of the day, what does the Prophet ﷺ say? He says, Allahumma ghafir li qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. He says, oh Allah, forgive my people. They don't really know. They don't really understand. Okay? So keep in mind that that's the nature of humans. So they pushed against Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim decided to communicate the message in another way. Communicate the message in another way. How? Because for them, they worship these stones thinking that if you respect them, if you give devotion to these idols, you will be good. They will take care of you. And so on and so forth. So he wanted to challenge this. So they were going on a trip, maybe for hunting or something. They go out. He stays in town. And he says, I'm sick. They go out. He takes the axe. He goes to their gods. And he starts banging at them, destroying them, except for the biggest one. The biggest one. And what does he do? He hangs the axe on the biggest idol. Now these people, you can imagine, I'm going to tell you how it feels, okay? Imagine you travel out of KL, you go to Langkawi for vacation, you come back, you find your local masjid is destroyed or burnt. How do you feel? And it's a masjid, it's a building. What happened? Okay. So, what about their own gods? So they were shocked. And it's not only like their idols are being like destroyed, like they're destroyed, but one of them is still in good shape and it's got the axe around its neck. So it gets them to think, like, what happened? Like, if someone destroyed them, why didn't this person destroy everything? Again, you want to get people's attention. What do? You do something unexpected and something that does not make full sense to them. Does not make full sense to them. So why? Because someone would expect if anybody's going to destroy the idols, they should destroy all the idols. But being unexpected, that gets people to think. That gets people to think. So this is something outside of our topic. If you want to stand out, you want to be remembered, do something unexpected. But again, just like being different, not for the sake of doing anything. So there are people who do something different, or they puzzle others, but they do bad things, or they do things that are not good for them. So it's not just about doing something unexpected, but it's unexpected, but it has a profound message. Ibrahim alayhi salam wanted them to question why the biggest one of their idols is still there, and why is the axe around its neck? But Ibrahim had thought through it, like he was many steps ahead of them. So they're puzzled. They say, what happened? One of them remembers. He says, we had this young man, Ibrahim. He used to say bad things about our gods. So I think it's him. Go and fetch him. They bring Ibrahim and they say, what happened? He said, ask them. They're your gods, right? They benefit you, and if you do not give them worship, they will harm you, right? So they're animated. Ask them. So the Quran actually mentions that this puzzles them. They say, how can we ask them? Like, they don't respond They don't respond. So now he's getting them to question. Now they can't even answer a question. How are they going to benefit us? Why do we give devotion to them? That's the first one. That's not enough. He's got a long plan for them. So then he says, well, I mean, look, all of them are destroyed. One of them is intact and has got the axe on top. So it seems that big one did it. And he got them to say something that proves his point. So they said, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ, as in the Quran, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا هَؤُلَاءِ يَنْطِقُونَ. You know that these don't talk. He says, aha. They don't even talk. Why do you worship them? They're helpless. Right? So he said, so maybe قَالَ فَعَلَهَا كَبِيرُهُمْ. It's the biggest one of them did it. You can tell, look at it. He's got the axe and he's good. Then they realized this was his own game. But it got them to think. It was a moment of truth, but they rejected it. Fine. They took Ibrahim. They said, okay, we're going to give him the worst type of punishment. So they piled up a huge amount of wood and they lit a huge fire. So they wanted to throw him in the fire, and guess what? They can't even get close to the fire. It's too hot. They can't get close enough to put him in the fire. So they think about, how can we get him into the fire? So what do? They create a big sling, catapult. You know the sling? What's a sling? You know when you have the two twigs, you have the rubber on them, you shoot stones. They put him in one of those, one of the bigger ones, and then they throw him into the fire. And Ibrahim alayhi salam says one word, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbi Allah, and he says, Allah is enough for me. And he's the best disposer of affairs. Allah is enough for me. By the way, science today, in our time, whether we're talking about physics, chemistry, electronics, biology, even the humanities, there's a lot of good in them, but science today has this arrogance that it gives you the impression that people of the past were stupid and primitive. People in the past had tools. They could build huge buildings. They could make great constructions. They had sophisticated medicine. They had complex lifestyles. They had government systems of government. And they had quite a good level of technology, not necessarily electronic, but they had powerful tools. So don't think like, sometimes people are surprised, like, did they have like these big machines at the time of Ibrahim so they could throw him in? Yeah, they had this. There's a lot that humanity had, but science today gives us the impression that humans were stupid. They were not. They were not. Okay. So Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns the fire peaceful for him and cool. We're getting close to the Isha prayer. Anyway, then Ibrahim travels. He leaves them and he travels. And he travels. Where was Ibrahim? First question. And I have some gifts. I want to give them out. Brother Ammar said, I can give those out, so I want to give this basket back empty. So Ibrahim, where was he before, when he was young, when he was a child, with his father? Where was he? Put your hand up, don't shoot. Where was Ibrahim? Where was he born? Where did he grow up? Where? Huh? Iraq. Okay, put your hand up next time. But I'm gonna give you some candy. Oops, sorry. Okay. Is it okay if I throw it? That's cool? All right, I don't want to break any cultural norms, so tell me. Because I don't want to be a snitch. So you guys tell me. In Ur in Iraq, yes. In the north of Iraq, what's known today as northern Iraq. What is the name of the father of Ibrahim? Again, don't shoot. You're going to miss your gift. Put your hand up. The name of the father of Ibrahim. Yes. Azar, yes. I can't throw, so I'll ask someone to pass it on. Would you pass it on? Okay, so Ibrahim travels from Iraq to where first? Put your hand up. Palestine. Me and you are from the same culture. I can do it. Okay, so Palestine. And he marries a woman. Her name is the first one? Sarah. Okay. Kit Kat or M&M's? Kit Kat. Okay. Jazakallah khair. Okay if I throw it? Good. MashaAllah. طيب. He goes with Sarah to, you said it without putting your hands up, so no gifts, Egypt. And there was a tyrant. His name or his title was An-Namrud. An-Namrud. He has a big argument with Ibrahim alayhi salam, but An-Namrud had an issue. It's very strange. It's very strange. Do you know some Muslims, and it happens a lot in the West, you'll find a Muslim, he has a shop, he sells alcohol, and he puts his money in the bank and he takes interest, riba, and he uses riba and everything, right? And sometimes he or his family, they drink alcohol. And then someone invites them to McDonald's or some chicken. They say, is it halal? Strange, right? Strange. How, like, man, you're doing everything. This is, no, I don't eat non-halal food. But you drink alcohol, right? So it happens, humans. And Namrud had something similar. And Namrud would, if he saw a woman and he liked the woman, he would, even if she's married, he would take her to himself. And he would, if she was married, he would divorce her from her husband. But if she had a father or a brother, he would not take her without the permission of her father or her mother. Halal. Only halal, right? So, Ibrahim, before going to Egypt, he knows. He knows. And that means when you go into a country, it's important to understand the rules, the norms, how people think, what are the meanings of things. You know, in certain countries, this means hi, right? Or thank you. In other countries, it's rude to put your hand in someone's face. Yeah. So it's important to understand what meanings. Well, I'm telling you this, I should have done my homework. I'm throwing candy before knowing whether it's appropriate or not. But anyways, because I never thought about it. Ammar never told me that I was going to hand sweets. طيب. When Ibrahim goes and meets An-Namrud, because he has to meet him. Ibrahim looks at An-Namrud, and Namrud sees the wife of Ibrahim, Sarah. Ibrahim can tell that An-Namrud likes Sarah. He knows what's going to happen now. He knows what's going to happen. So, An-Namrud says, who's this? Ibrahim says, my sister. My sister. Now, he knew, that's why he said, because if he said, she's my wife, Ibrahim, the Namrud would kill Ibrahim and take his wife. So he said, she's my sister. Did he lie? Well, you could consider it a lie, but this is something called it's not lying, it's a white lie. He basically meant, she's my sister in Islam. That's what he means. It's called al-muwara. 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 The Prophet ﷺ used it sometimes. Yeah? So you don't have to lie. If you can use something that has double meaning, you intend one, but you know the person is going to understand the other meaning. It's called a pun in English, right? Pun. You can use pun. Yeah. So Ibrahim said, she's my sister. So An-Namrud could not take her without the permission of Ibrahim, and obviously it didn't, he did not ask for her. So Ibrahim saved himself from, and Namrud saved his wife. So that shows us the importance of knowing the people you're dealing with and what things mean to them. Sometimes it's respect. Let me tell you about the Arabs. You know, if you go to an Arab's house, they're going to ask you, where are you from? What do you do? How many kids do you have? What do you like eating? What you don't like eating? Would you like doing this? And they will get into your business. They will get into your life. Why? Because for them, in Arabic culture, it's courtesy, it's kind and generous to get to know people and ask them.